Okay, so I'm Brenna, and my project is analyzing speech patterns and motivations from people in Greeley. Um, these were my research questions. Um, are there differences in the speech patterns? Was really basic. Um, so this study is mostly an anthropological study, which is just the study of humans. And but my mentor is from the English department, and it also focuses a lot in linguistics, which is the study of languages. Um, the original plan, which kind of worked, was to just go out into the community and take interviews to then analyze the patterns. Um, we had a set group of people between the age of 18 and 70, male and female, since we are focusing on age and gender. Um, Before I could actually start my presentation, I had to apply with the IRB, which is the Institutional Review Board, and they were just seeing that my project was ethical, that I wasn't going to be hurting anybody, that I wasn't going to be cruel, and yeah. It was a little time consuming, but that was okay. It was needed to be done. Um, So, while I was dealing with the IRB, I got to do a lot of background research. And the big one, Deborah Tannen Can't We Talk, focuses on the differences between male and females when they speak. Males tend to sit away from each other, not make as much eye contact. Women tend to sit closer, seem more involved in the conversation. So, once I finally did get to start my interviews, it was really basic. After a group agreed to participate, they would have to fill out a consent form that just said what the project was, why I was doing it, and that they weren't going to gain anything from presenting or from helping. And then they would be presented with a questionnaire that had 4 questions asking um, what political issues they felt were important, why they were important, what political issues related to one another. Really easy. And all these interviews took place mostly in just coffee shops throughout Greeley. Really simple. And I got an average of 1 or 2 interviews a day, and they lasted between 3 and 5 minutes. Some, actually quite a few, went over 5 minutes. Kind of annoying. And yeah, I gained a total of 7 interviews, which is really sad, and that is a total of 19 people. So, I interviewed a lot of really interesting people. You see a lot of different people, especially in a college town. The first one I interviewed was the couple. It was college students here for the summer, a man and a woman around 21, and that is a good example for later. My third interview was taken the next day with 5 old men, and there's just 5 men around the age of 70. They had a lot to talk about. And then I had a whole bunch of others. Summer teachers was just a good example of different groups and how they interact. So the main thing I tend to notice was men really like to dominate the conversation. They take control really fast, and they tend to be louder and more aggressive with their conversation. Women, especially in a group setting where there are men, just sit there and listen and don't talk that much. This is a good example of how men dominate. This is from the first interview. This is actually the very beginning of the interview. This lasted for about 45 seconds, and this was her response. And so men, when it's just a group of men, they all want to talk at once. And they tend to, while they try and take control, they still invite the other men into the conversation. And it can get very frustrating to listen to. And women, they tend to laugh more about it, seem more at ease with each other. But they seem to, with the political issues, they didn't seem to touch on it as much. They kind of skimmed over the ideas while men got in depth. This example is from Five Old Men. It starts off, they all just kind of are saying little things, and then they get longer and longer while they all try and dominate the conversation. We also focused on age as a big factor in dealing with this. And younger groups tended to skip around topics. They didn't just stay focused on one topic. And yeah, they tend to go into the topics a bit more. The first interview I took is a good example of that because they started off with gun laws, went through funding for the arts, and ended on abortion. And older couples tend to kind of stick to just more of one topic. They might jump around, but not very much. They're the only ones who really brought up political parties, which is kind of surprising. And they seem to show an unliking and a distrust for the government nowadays. And this example is from my second interview taken the first day. Okay, but I did have a lot of flaws in my research. I didn't get a good enough sample size. I didn't have as much time, and so I only got 7 interviews. We were hoping to get closer to 20 or 30. It was really sad. And all the people I interviewed were white. Didn't do that on purpose. It just happened. So it kind of messes with some of it. So with what I can conclude, which is really hard because I do have such a small sample size, is they tend to jump topics but stay focused. Everyone says a lot, especially in interview situations and stuff under pressure. They say like a lot. And a lot of the time they say I think, I feel, which is okay, but yeah. And my references, very long. And then thanks to all these people, my mentor, Brian Lambert, the Morris family for sponsoring me to be at FSI, and the Bacon family for sponsoring my research. Lori, Karen, Chris, Scott, Ty, Eric, and Yvette for helping us out here at FSI.